Hi everybody. In the previous video we took a look at the scene state system in Unreal Engine's motion design toolset, and in this video we're going to work on building up an entirely new scene state system from scratch so you can see how all of this is built. Now, as a quick preview, this is the design of the little score bar that I'm hoping to do with this particular series. So we will just work on the scene state that displays this background color bar that is the outer border in this video, but wanted to make sure you could get a feel for where we're going with this. So this setup here is designed to allow for score changes on the left and right, timeouts on the left and right, and also indicate, say, ball possession, offensive possession for a arbitrary game. So right now, in terms of this design, I'm taking advantage of as many motion design tools as I can. So one of the things that's going on here is possession is indicated by a possession indicator, and the possession indicator has a background. So if I set this possession indicator to 2, there's no possession whatsoever. So there's kind of this pair of background triangles, and so these are these actors here, and then there is a possession indicator with a left and right indicator. Those are both just yellow polygon shapes, triangles in this case, and the visibility is being controlled by a modifier in the operator stack for the possession indicator null here. So it's a visibility modifier, and the way this visibility modifier works is that if this is set to a value of 0, then the first indicator is displayed. If I set this to a value of 1, the second indicator is displayed, and anything higher than 1 basically hides both of those indicators. And so we'll be able to use this as a way of switching our indicators for possession. And then there's a set of timeout indicators for each the left and the right side. And my cheat there is that I have a pair of rectangles, a right timeout and a left timeout rectangle. And these are also, just solid yellow rectangles, but they are being masked by a set of squares. And this mask null here actually is using a grid arrange modifier. So it is arranging a set of squares, and then those squares are being used as an additive mask for anything else that has this mask channel 0. So I've got a mask for the right and the left. Both of those are just 3 indicators, and we can take a look at what those look like if I set the vertical height of the yellow rectangles. So there's one yellow rectangle for the right, one for the left. Currently both of those are 35 units high, and so if I were to change this to this is my left indicator, if I change that to 25, we've shortened the yellow rectangle, and so now it's only illuminating essentially 2 of the squares. And if I go to 15, only 1 square, and if I say 5, none of those are lit up. So these 3 gray squares are these background squares, and that's how this is set up. And of course there's finally a score for the left and the right, and so we can currently, there's no animation yet. We'll be building that in the coming videos. But if I go ahead and change a score, you can see that this remote control operates that. And so again, we will build this up from scratch. And in this video, we're really just going to do the outer frame and just create some scene state controls to basically reveal and hide that, and then in subsequent videos we'll get into more of the animating and controlling of the other elements of this score bar. So we will definitely be starting from scratch here. So right click, new folder in our content browser, and I'll call this scene state demo, and double click. So right click to start with a new level. I'll choose level and give this a score bar level name. Control S to save. Double click to open that up. Now there's nothing in here at all, so I'll activate the motion design scene features on this level. That has altered the level structure, so we have sequences and remote control and transition logic built into it now. I will also go ahead and create defaults, so we have some default lighting and a camera ready to go. That camera is now selected and we are looking through that camera. And let's do a Control-Shift-S to save our changes so far. Now, one of the first things that we do need to make sure is working here is that transition logic can handle the level. So we need to assign transition logic enabled, and we need to set up a layer for this to exist on. That layer needs an asset of tags from motion design so that we can assign a layer. So let's go right click and go to motion design and tag collection, and we'll just call this demo tags. Control-Shift-S to save all of our changes so far. Double click on the demo tags, and we're just going to add a tag for score bar. So score bar, Control-S to save, close that down. And now in transition logic, again, it's enabled. We're going to select the demo tags asset. So demo tags, and we'll assign score bar to this as its layer. And you see we've edited the levels, so Control-Shift-S to save those changes. And next we want to be able to see something in this level, so I'm just going to double click on the rectangle so we have a shape visible. Control-Shift-S once again. And finally, just to test our transition logic in general, I'm going to go ahead and create a rundown. So right click, motion design, and motion design rundown so that we can play out the level and see how it would look in a broadcast. So we'll call this demo rundown. Control-S to save it, double click to open, and we'll drag our score bar level into our templates area and then drag and drop that as a page. So now we should be able to preview that in, and we should see the rectangle, wonderful, and preview it out, and everything's working cleanly. So now this is ready to operate in Rundown, so we can get to work on doing our scene state work. Now, in order for that to happen, we'll want to make some animations. Let's just say that this is going to be the background bar for our score bar, so I will select this rectangle, and let's give it a slant in each direction, so maybe -25 in the left, +25 in the right. I'll go for a global bevel of 8. And let's switch our mesh size to, instead of being proportional, I'm going to go ahead and set that to free so I can make it a little bit shorter versus its width, and maybe extend it a little bit wider. This looks okay. And let's make some nice even numbers here. So we'll just set this to 270, and we'll make it a height of 40. And finally, I'm going to scroll down for the material. Let's keep it simple, but let's add a gradient this time. So solid will change to linear gradient. I'll change the top color to a nice vivid blue. It's not showing up vivid because we're not unlit, so we'll activate unlit. So now we're getting exactly the color we're asking for. However, this color is distributed in a square ratio. It's preserving a square ratio for the overall gradient. So I am going to stretch to fit instead, and that way the black to blue is fitting entirely within this rectangle. And let's just increase the value of this so it's not solid black. We just want like a really dark, and maybe we just make it super dark blue. There we go. Something like that. So we get a little bit of character to that. Before I move this, what I want to do is group this under a null actor. So with the rectangle selected, I'm going to use Control-G to create a null actor as a parent for that. And I'll click that and hit F2 to rename it. We'll just call this score bar null. Or actually, let's call it score bar GRP for group. All right, there we go. And so under that will be everything related to our score bar, and that way we can animate this null and everything will move with it as we add more content for this score bar. So with this bar being our main animation tool, we're just going to move that into position, maybe just a little inside our title safe area. Let's see where we are numerically. Let's try -200. In Z, that's a good spot, and we'll make sure everything else is zeroed out. Wonderful. So this will be our default location. However, we want an animation that brings this into view and an animation that takes it out of view. So let's go over to our sequencer and let's create some new sequences. So we'll go over to motion design in the sequencer. We'll add a sequence for bar in. So I will F2 on this second sequence and call that bar in, and add another sequence called bar out, F2, bar out. And let's start with the bar out since we're in the position that we want right now for it to live in. So this will start here. So I will provide a keyframe for this null at the beginning. And we'll also provide a key for the mesh size for the rectangle. So we'll key that. And let's just move about 15 frames in, and we'll compress the size of the rectangle before we kind of tuck this away. So we'll take the horizontal size of the rectangle and collapse that a bit. Let's try a value of maybe 15. Yeah, that's fine. So nice and small. And we'll click on our key to make sure we've got that keyed. And we'll key our group position, our null position as well, so that we stay put where we are right now. So that is keyed. And finally, we'll just move another 15 frames and we'll move this out of view. So I'm just going to take the Z value and tuck that out of the way. We'll just say -400. And we're on frame 30 here. I will set that as the end of my animation and go back here and hit play just to see how that looks. Wonderful. So we could play this in forward and reverse to show and hide. And let's just do that for now. We'll just use this one animation. We'll play it forward to hide the bar, and we'll play it backwards to reveal the bar. So in that case, I do not need bar in, so I can delete that. And we can save all of this. So let's go ahead and Control-Shift-S. Everything is saved. Now the thing is that we don't want transition logic to play this animation. And I think right now, if we run our transition logic and we take our page in, yeah, by default, it's showing our rectangle, and we don't want that to happen when we bring this level in. So let's take it out, and instead, we want to create a template in animation that just keeps this bar out of view. So I'll go into the motion design animations again, add an animation, and we'll call this the template in. So apply preset in. And this preset is set up so that it'll automatically play anytime rundown brings this level in as a page. So by default, this will get run. And what I want to do here is take our score group and just bring it to that -400 position in Z, so it's out of view. We'll set a key for that, and we'll just make this a really short animation, just like a frame or two long. And that way this will play and the bar will not be in view by default. So Control-Shift-S to save that. Let's test that out. So opening up our rundown, selecting our page, previewing in, we should see nothing. Wonderful. Preview out. So that gives us a good setup here to get started with our scene state. Now you can see here that we do not have a scene state actor. When I click the scene state button, it will add a scene state actor. Now another point to note is this button is only available when we have our scene state plugins activated. So just to double check that they are on. Well, obviously they're on because the button is here, but if you don't have that button, you'll go into plugins and type in motion design scene, and you'll find these two plugins, motion design scene state and motion design scene state integration. Make sure both of those are active, and then you'll have this button available. Okay, so when I click this button, we'll add an actor for the scene state here, and then we'll start working on our scene state blueprints. So I'll click the button, and there is our new actor, and here is our scene state machine, and we have an entry point ready to go, and so we can get started. The main thing that we want to do here is have a variable that we can expose to remote control in rundown, so that that variable can be a checkbox on or off whether or not we want the bar showing. So I'll go ahead and create the variable, and we'll just call this show score bar. Control S to save it. Now I have not exposed that, so when I select this actor, we don't have anything visible, and even if I compile, still nothing visible. To make this variable visible to the rest of Unreal Engine, we want to open this eye, expose this variable, and now I can compile it, and it is available in our actor, and we can expose it to remote control. Now, one other note is it could be that in the future there may be a variable that you want to control with a sequencer. In order to be able to keyframe a value in sequencer, you'll want to expose to cinematics. So if I activate expose to cinematics and compile, you'll see now that we have a keyframe control there. And if I don't ever want to use this with an animation or sequence, I can just uncheck that, compile, and that goes away. All right, so we've got the variable. Let's build some scene state logic to work with. So the first thing is that we're going to go into an idle state waiting for something to do. So coming in from entry, I'm going to drag from its border out into an empty space, release to place a new node, and I'm going to choose add a state. And this state will be called idle. This will be our idle. Now, this is just going to sit here waiting for what to do next. Constantly, the scene state system is trying to escape from this. So I will create a wire coming away from this idle and release. And the main thing I want to do now that the scene state is running is I want to reveal the score bar. So reveal score. Oh, I'm giving it a name. I'm jumping ahead of the gun here. Pulling away, release, add state. And now give this a name. Reveal bar. I'll just call it bar. There we go. So this state is the state that it'll be in when it is time to reveal the bar. Now we only want to get here if the show score bar variable is true. So here is our transition logic, and I can double click on here, and right now it's set to always transition, and what I want to do is make it conditional on show score bar. So I'm going to drag this in, choose get, and connect this value directly into can transition. So if this is true, we can transition. If it's false, we're not going to. Okay, so whenever this is true, we are going to go ahead and transition over to reveal bar. What do we want to do when we reveal the bar? We want to play the animation to bring the bar in, which right now is our bar out in reverse. So I'll pull a wire off of the border of reveal bar. I'll choose a play sequence task, and this play sequence will play the bar out sequence, but we will play that in the reverse direction. So the play mode will be reverse. Once this is finished, we just want to move on and wait for something else. So let's pull away from here and say that we're going to create another state and say for wait for action. And so now we are revealing the bar, it's available, and we then transition immediately without condition, always. As soon as the bar is revealed, we're going to move on to our wait for action state, and we'll just sit here waiting for something else to do. Now, one of the something else's to do would be that maybe we want to hide the bar. So I will pull from this border, release, and add a state, and we'll call this hide bar. And we don't always want to go to this, so we want to make a conditional transition here. Double click, and the condition is based on whether or not we want to show this. We'll get the value, and I'm just going to put a Boolean not in here. So I take the true value, and I will say not, and not Boolean, and then drag the result of that here. So when this is true, we do not want to transition. When this is false, well, we don't want to be false. We want to say that true. We do want to transition. So that's what this is doing. It's inverting the Boolean. And that way, that is all in here. So anytime we deactivate or turn this to false, we'll be able to move from wait for action to hide the bar. And finally, as soon as this is done, we do want to go to idle. So we'll go ahead and connect these, and we'll leave this as always being able to transition. And of course, we just need to add our sequence task to hide bar. So I'm just going to drag this out, release, play a sequence, and this sequence again will be bar out, except this time we're playing it forward. And that's really everything for this scene state. Let me go ahead and compile it. and this should be ready to go. I can test this out right here in our scene state editor. I just need to select a debug object, and that is the scene state actor. So I'm just going to select this, and here it is. Here's the actor. And so I've got my debug view. If you don't have that, you just go to Window and choose Debug View to show it. And I'll hit play. Now we may get the bar. No, we didn't. Good. So we're in idle. And when I activate this, then we show it. And when I deactivate it, we hide it. So wonderful. This scene state is working here. Now we just need to get it to work using the remote control in Rundown. So let's stop this and close the window. And wonderful, we are now in our remote control panel here. So normally it's our content browser, sometimes it's our sequencer. We're going to go to remote control, and we are going to add the show score bar as a property to remote control by clicking this button here. So now that property is available. We'll just call that show as the property ID. And then I'm going to click and drag that over to create a controller that is bound to it. So the controller that we've just created, which I will also call show, is now connected to this property. And therefore, if I check this box, this becomes positive. If I uncheck this, this gets unchecked. So that's this bind that automatically got set up because I dragged and dropped here. We can do that manually as well, but save that for another video. This is it. We should be all set up at this point. So Control-Shift-S to save all of our changes. Go back to our content browser, open up our rundown, select our page, and preview in. We should see nothing initially, and that is good. And then I will click on my controller for show score bar, and that brings our bar in, and click it again, and it brings it out. So now we have real-time control, and in our next video we can look at adding a score that we want to show on this score bar that we can edit in our rundown controls so that we can have real-time interactivity with our score bar. So I hope this helps, and until next time, have fun.